that the census is due this year on April 1st? And guess what? This time we can finally count as Caribbean. This year, all you have to do is 1. Check the race box, and 2. Write in your country of birth or ancestry. You can answer by the paper form, online, or by phone. Everybody counts in Census 2020. So count as Caribbean. Yes, we count.
Yeah! You gotta be firm in this time, son. You gotta be strong in this time, son. I'm a survivor.
Yeah, 1, 2, check.
And I'm a firm believer.
All right, top of the afternoon to you guys. How you guys doing? Welcome to the ride. Welcome to Ride Along Live for today. It's another beautiful day inside. All right. So guys, as you come in, go ahead and share the thing. Let me see who is there early. Who is there early? Samasha, big up yourself. How you doing, Samasha Sanders, guys? Samasha, I see you first. Hey, Christine, Alexis, checking us out over there on YouTube. Hey, the folks on YouTube, big up all yourself. Don't forget you can also watch us over there on ridealongfamily.live. Yeah, ridealongfamily.live. You can also watch us there as well. So big up to the folks that's watching over on YouTube. Hey, big up yourself. It's Wednesday. Yes, I was going to say Thursday, but then I realized it looks like a Wednesday. It kind of feels like a Sunday, but long story. Anyway, welcome to the ride, guys. Welcome to the ride. Sandra Lewis, big up yourself. The keyword today, guys, is I share. All right, the keyword is I share. For the record, that's all you know. So say I share and I put you up on the screen. All right, say I share and I put you up on the screen. Big up yourself. Big up yourself. Who they? Peaches. Peach Williams, how you doing? Big up yourself, Peach Williams. Welcome to the ride. Hope you had a great day today. Big up Marlon Hazard. I share. Guys, the keyword is I share. Keyword is I share. Catherine, big up yourself. The keyword is I share. Kenty Alexander. Big up yourself, Kenty Alexander. Thanks for sharing. Sharing is caring. Thank you. Who else we have? I share. Going out to Shalov. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for caring. We appreciate you so much. Guys, also I wanted to start a watch party, right? Because the program today is very informative and it's information that everyone should have at this point in time. Today our special guest is the Prime Minister of Grenada, Carriacou, Petit Martinique. And we have a lot to discuss. Yes, we have plenty to discuss, as you could well imagine. This is actually the first time the Prime Minister is on the ride, so you could imagine the long list of questions that we'll have for him. Hopefully, the time would permit. But I got assurance from the Prime Minister and the folks in his office that if everything don't run through for the hour today, they would give us another time where he could come back on for whatever we missed. So I know we got a lot of questions from you guys. We're going to try to get you every single one of them. But if we don't, we'll have another opportunity, okay? Big up yourself. Tick some. Primus, big up yourself. I share. Dr. Zarina Frederick, big up yourself. Thank you so much for sharing. Sharing is caring. Roses S. Lewis, thank you so much for sharing. Sharing is caring, guys. Sharing is caring. Say that you share. And we show that you care. All right? Who else we have? Sweetness. Big up yourself, Sweetness. Thank you so much. Christine Alexis, big up yourself. Shalom, again, I see you. Jellyanne McIntosh. Is there anyone here that's watching Ride Along for the very first time? Is there anyone here that's watching Ride Along? That's your first time on the ride. I wanna acknowledge you because it's a family. Ride Along is a family. Ride Along is a movement. All right, Renisha, pick up yourself. So if anyone here watching Ride Along for the first time, I want to acknowledge you. I really want to acknowledge you because you are part of the family. Even if this is your first time here, don't make it your last. Who we have? Jillian. Oh, first time? Who's the first time? Risha Gabrielle, thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much. It's your first time. Patrice Redhead, how you doing? How you doing? Big up yourself. Thank you so much. Kimberly Charles, thank you so much. Everybody share. This is our second time. Imani, big up yourself. Thank you so much. This is your second time. Thank you so much, Imani. We really appreciate you. Sha love girl. I wouldn't miss this. Yeah. All right, who else we have? It's my birthday today. It's my birthday today. Whose birthday today? Tixam, it's your happy birthday, Tixam. Thank you so much for joining us on your birthday. We appreciate you. Have a wonderful birthday. I'll make sure that that Dr. Z big you up on her show in the morning time. All right, I'll make sure that Dr. Z big you up in the morning show. Yeah, Junior got pink eye. The monitor is a little bit away from where I'm sitting, so if I'm not seeing everything, I have to kind of stretch my eye a little bit. All right, so yeah, I see it. It's your birthday. Good day to Deborah James. Thank you so much, Deborah James. All right, okay, guys. All right, guys. Let's get started because we're gonna have an extended program today, but we have also very limited time to speak to the Prime Minister. Now, as I said, we put a call out to have the Prime Minister on Ridealong for just about a few months now. And we understand that the Prime Minister has a lot of obligations, a lot of things going, but he decided to take some time from his busy, very busy schedule to chat with us today. Today, we're going to talk about a number of things. Namely, we're going to talk about what's happening with police brutality, not only in the US and around the world, but also in the Caribbean. In Grenada, we had our share of that as well. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about tourism. We're going to talk about agriculture and a whole lot more. There's a lot of things that we're going to outline today. So I want you guys to stick and stay, go nowhere. When we come back, we're going to talk live with the Prime Minister of Grenada, the Right Honorable Dr. Keith Mitchell. Don't move. We'll be right back. Welcome to this special edition of Ride Along Live, and we thank you for being a part of our program today. Today we have very special guests. First time on the ride, hopefully not the last. We'd like to welcome on our program today Dr. the Right Honorable Dr. Keith Mitchell. Dr. Keith Mitchell, welcome to the ride. How are you doing today, sir?
Well, I'm doing fine, and I'm looking forward to that ride.
Yeah, well, the ride is always an enjoyable ride. It's always an enjoyable ride. I'm here in New York, and the folks here in New York are happy when they look back and they see the progress that Grenada had made, the COVID response team and your whole administration had made over the past couple of weeks, a month or so. So we'd like to say congratulations on a job well done in battling this COVID fight.
Yes, I think you're right in the sense that the country is the one that has to be given the credit. We as leaders tried to do what we had to do, but mobilizing people at different levels has been the fundamental reason for what appeared to be a successful period so far in managing this very serious situation that the entire world has found itself. I think that's the key to what we have, as you quite rightly pointed out.
Yeah,
we have had our own share of cases, of course, all imported. The management of those cases has been something to be lauded, in the sense that we have had no deaths. One of the few countries in the region that has not experienced this, and hopefully we'll stay that way. We do what we have to do. That's why we are continuing to dot the I's and cross the T's with respect to how we proceed the border opening and all the things that we are doing in the country. We're proud of where we are. We don't want to lower our guard at this time.
What are your main takeaway from this whole COVID fight, and what are some of the things that you think that was done especially well to prevent that wide community spread or widespread of the coronavirus in Grenada?
Well, you see, Junior, remember, I'm by training, I'm a science person, right? And unlike some people who don't want to believe in science, I am a firm believer. And after getting a strong feeling of what this virus was doing to the health of individual persons, I remember early when we had to go to Guyana to look at this whole election problem that existed there. A few of the leaders, including myself, with the Prime Minister, Barbados, who's chairman of CARICOM. About 5 of us leaders went there, and so my colleagues were then hugging people and shaking hands. And I said to them, guys, you don't seem to realize what's taking place. In fact, by the time we were leaving Guyana, everybody stopped shaking and was bouncing one another and recognizing. So I think I got the message very early, and then we took initiative to lock down the country because we realized that was key to where we are going. I got hold of my friends in the religious community and told them, look, we have to do something about services and funerals. It was not an easy thing to do because people are traditionally looking forward to their services on Saturday or Sunday and being not just praying to the God and doing things that they believe they have to do based on his message, but also being part of the religious family on that weekend. And that was a difficult one to sell. But I think we got their support and I think they understood the problem. And I think this had something to do with it. And my cabinet team also came on board very quickly, understanding the problem. We formulated this subcommittee of cabinet, which was being led by Minister Steele as Minister of Health, supported by Peter David in the Foreign Affairs area. And we assembled a team of men and women who met literally every day. I think up to now they're meeting, assessing things as we go along, because this way, as you know, this was a pretty changing period for all of us, because initially, as you know, because even the scientific community did not come to grips and understanding how this virus operates. Up to now, they're still coming up with different assessment of how people get the virus and so on. So I think a combination of that and getting the support of the people in general, I think people recognize it. I think one thing I noticed, Junior, about we human beings, and I think you also know that about yourself, that we will be difficult to get us to do something related to everything else. But when it comes to health, man ain't taking chance.
Sure.
So I think it was not difficult when they watched what was happening in the world with a lot of people in high places getting sick.
Yes.
I think the message of Prime Minister Johnson in Britain, almost literally losing his life, sent a powerful message to the people of the region. So I think a combination of all of the above was responsible for where we are. And I think we have not dropped our guard. The stakeholders in the country, the people in general, of course, they're critical to what we're trying to do. The essential workers playing their role, generally speaking. Not every one of them, because some duck their responsibility. Like everything else in life, you never get everybody to come on board. But we did get that support, the Ministry of Health staff in general again. And also the church community played their role, the religious community, the trade union movement in general, I would say so, and the non-governmental community. So I think it was a total country's effort. I think this is what I would continually laud, just like the structural adjustment program Junior, without the support of the population and the key stakeholders, trade unions, churches, business community, and so on, we would never have been successful. And we would, you know something, we would not have been able to do some of the things we're doing now if it was not our success and the structural adjustment program, the support of the country as a whole in ensuring that the fiscal problem management of the country was in fact intact. And therefore we had savings that we never had before during all my years in government. This is what is certainly the best period in terms of cash resources of the country. And it's because of the sacrifices made by all and sundry. I think we reached that stage. So you can see from what you're hearing in the Caribbean region in general, you would see that Grenada's initiative on stimulus package was probably out front in many, many respects. In fact, ahead of some countries in the world who may have even more resources, far more resources than Grenada. So I think we need to be proud of our achievement as a country, and I share that view consistently so.
Yeah. And you know, when we in the diaspora think about the current situation, we're happy, and we're all thinking about, I think I could speak for the majority of people here in the diaspora, we're all thinking about coming back. We are thinking about the day or so that the borders will be open up.
Yes.
But there are some questions still that remains because we're still unclear as to how it would look like. Give us an idea as national.
Yeah. Let me tell you what the main concerns are, or the main issues are. We accept the fact we want to have our citizens who we want to return, and we're proud to have them. And especially, we have a lot of citizens who abroad who have been very successful in many ways and can make a tremendous contribution, and they have done so to develop further development of the country. So that's a big plus. That something is pushing them even more than before to return home. And of course, we want to have the resurgence of the tourism industry, because that, as Grenada is one of its main aspects of economic activity is the tourism. And of course, our hotels are literally empty now, and a lot of the ancillary services that used to benefit from tourism activity certainly was at the lowest point. So we certainly want to see this, all these things done. The problem we have is if people wanted to come, then given the virus is still very much a major factor in the health issues facing every country, we do not want to, as I said before, to lower our guard, so that we would have loved to see everyone who is coming to Grenada, whether a citizen, non-citizen, would have some form of test before. We're trying to get the airlines to accept some responsibility for people who are coming through their facility that they do. But the airlines have indicated that they would be unable to take up that challenge. So it means that if we have to open the border, the onus is upon us here in the country to ensure that all the protocols are in place in the various facilities, hotels, that will protect the citizens of the country, and that the test at the airport when they arrive, and the whole facility and operation at the airport will be airtight with respect to all the protocols that we have established. And then we also must know that people don't just come to go in hotels or specific facility. There are some people coming to go back to their own families. Yes. And they will be all over the country, and restricting people to move about is going to be a very difficult proposition. So the question is, we have to establish contact tracing organization. So we are building that unit where we have people who will be, and we have an app would follow people as they enter the country and they move around. So we'll be able to keep abreast.
Is it similar to the app that we saw in Wuhan City, where people are being tracked via their cell phone, which is
right. That sort of thing. We're developing this. We have a small company who is looking at this for us, and that is being put in place. And of course, all the systems, the training of staff at the different hotels. And you see, the problem is, Junior, you can't talk about one hotel. You have to do it for every single hotel. So we would have loved to start the border opening by the 1st of June, as we had indicated earlier, but we couldn't get all the protocol in place. So things are being done now to get those in place. So while people have been allowed to come in that period on some special flights, we have been insisting that they be tested before, because that's not related to an airline. It is related to your initiative to come and or make in your own arrangements. So that is the position. We are doing all that we can. We feel, as you said earlier on, we agree that we have done a lot, positively so, but we do not want to drop our guard, and we want our people. I think, it's a sad thing. It's not an easy decision for us to be able to tell a citizen or someone. There have people been calling me and writing me on Facebook and other places saying, Prime Minister, I just went on a holiday and I'm stuck. I could be losing my job. Home people are threatened for the survival of my livelihood, and I want to come home. The problem we have. So I feel for them. But on the other hand, if you fall for this and then open your border before all the protocols are in place, you can create a much more dangerous situation than we are facing. So these are some of the issues that we are facing at this point in time.
Let me try to understand and get it clear. As a returning national coming in, there will be some sort of app that would track someone's movement.
That's they would have to give us all the information about where they're going and so on. That's the harsh reality. If and when a vaccine is found and we can then return as best as possible to the normal life we had before, then we could really reduce those activities that we just mentioned with the app. But at this point in time, we have no choice. In a way, we lost some of our freedom with respect to this virus. You've lost, I have lost. I have not been able to interact with my own mom at this particular time the way I normally do. And we've lost some things. All of us have lost, and to some extent we have to continue to understand the seriousness of this problem and to be careful.
Could you speak to the 14-day mandatory quarantine that a returning national may have to undergo as they come into Grenada?
I think the testing, you do the rapid testing at the airport. So if somebody is cleared, then of course you quarantine yourself basically at home in your community or wherever you are. And that's what the app will be doing to making sure. But the rapid testing will give us an indication that you're not infected. Now, if it proves that you are, then of course you have to go into quarantine. And hopefully we'll have little or none of that. And I think so. The message is two forms of quarantine. One where you have tested negative with the rapid test, and then you go into your community. So you're at home, so to speak. And therefore you have to be responsible. The whole thing is dependent also. Everyone must do his share. Because there's no way we'll be able to trace every movement of every man and woman in his community, wherever he goes. But I think we all have to be responsible. No one wants to go out infecting people unless you have a certain mindset. And therefore, if you understand that, I give you an example. My brother, who was a physicist and did some work with Boeing recently, and he went out. And he came back in, he was tested, and he spent 2 weeks at home. And he did not move in his home because he was being responsible. Even if they didn't tell him this, he would have done it. I think everyone must take on a sense of responsibility for his nation at this particular time. It can't just be the government and the Ministry of Health or some official in government or something. It has to be every single one of us. Has a fundamental responsibility to protect ourselves and our country.
But we do understand that. I know we have other things to speak about, but we do understand that the PCI test that is done is a snapshot in a specific space at times.
Yes, I agree.
Someone have the
friend, that's a harsh reality. Nothing is perfect. We have to understand we're doing the best job we can. The fact is we have to live. Right? We can't close down our country forever. People have to have some sense of be able to earn a livelihood, and at the same time we have to open our country to some form of business, and we do the best job. And remember, we are Christian people. Remember, prayers are fundamental in all this, because we have lived before with other viruses and other things that we have sought out the support of Almighty. And basically, a lot of people say sometimes they believe Grenada is God created us specially. So in a sense, we've done what we're supposed to do, and hopefully we'll continue to do so. We're not going to be perfect. If you're thinking of being perfect, we'll never open this place until there is a vaccine that of course will protect everybody from infection.
Right, yeah. Guys, again, you're watching a live interview here with the Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Dr. Keith Mitchell, and we thank you for your time, sir. You mentioned a couple of things there at the top I wanted to touch on briefly, and it has to do with the hotels and the input into the hotels. Now, I spoke to the Minister of Tourism recently, right?
Yeah.
And this is what she said as it relates to the new economy, the economy back then.
Sure.
Now we have to have a mix, a more practical approach to the economy.
So hold on. Are you saying that the previous one was impractical?
It was not as practical as it should have been.
So it was impractical.
I will leave you to decide that for yourself.
So the question is, sir, the previous economy where we had all this input into tourism and overlooking agriculture and other of our own resources, was that an impractical economy?
No, I don't think it's a question of overlooking. I think the fact is, you and I know the traditional approach to agriculture. My father used to be a farmer and is on his livelihood. And we know the way we did agriculture before certainly will not be something that will attract the young people. So clearly we had a problem with the whole structure of the agricultural sector, and that has to be changed. And in doing so, you have to change people, Junior. And that was a difficulty. Some people love to continue to do things. But look at the whole structure of the GCNA and the Cocoa Association and so on, and the refusal to merge to be able to reduce costs, to be able to farmers be able to benefit more from the resources they make. They resisted this and almost threatened to close down the country if we attempt to force them to merge. And it's in the best interest. So we had to be fighting with this. And the whole question of irrigation, the whole question of mechanization of agriculture, that was a major challenge. So we have had strong emphasis on the sector, but getting leadership to move the sector in a direction, that was a great challenge. So, and tourism brought in serious foreign exchange. Tourism also brought in enormous amount of jobs. So one could realize in moving the economy forward, there was quite a lot of emphasis on tourism. I wouldn't say there was less emphasis in agriculture, because we were spending enormous amount of money on feeder roads, which ties into the upliftment of the agricultural sector. We are providing support to the farmers and farm labor and a number of things. But we have to realize one thing. We have to change our whole approach. So the emphasis on the marketing board has to play a stronger and more positive role in the development of the sector, because you have to show the young people. As I was talking to the bishop yesterday, we had a discussion on his concern about how we could move the sector forward better. And we both agree and share the view that we have to create better incentive for the young people to go into agriculture. I will not have gone into agriculture if I watched my father suffering, working for 15, 16 hours a day, and he couldn't buy a good pants. It wouldn't attract me. Similarly, your children and our children wouldn't do it unless we show them, like it meant some other countries, that there is a structured and a technologically advanced approach to make sure that the sector can become a serious business. And if we show them that, and I think we're moving in that direction, I think you will see more and more young persons getting involved in agriculture as a serious business. And the government has to do its share, and the population as a whole. The businesses must be involved, because instead of importing a lot of the foreign stuff, why should we not buy more of our locals, even if it costs a little more?
Yes.
With the lack of mechanization, there's some sacrifices everybody must make in the process. I have with my friends. A lot of times I go to places and I see cans of juice. I say, but you have all this gospel, you have all the mandarin and China, you buying the stuff in a tin, and all this chemical stuff. Man, come on, let's do it. I have banned since 1995 at the Prime Minister residence, no tin stuff in my house. I don't want to see it. If it's there at all, it's for somebody who comes and insists that they must get it. But I don't use it. I use all local stuff. The swivel sit is one of the best juices you could ever find.
Yeah.
The orange, the grapefruit, everything. We have everything, you know. I see people buying tea, Lipton tea in bag. You know, I mean, it's amazing. You go in the backyard and you have some nice bush. Man, the thing up till last night, I'm drinking this stuff. And taste the tea you get from the bag could never taste like the lemongrass that we get from the back of the house at Mount Royal, at the Prime Minister residence, and my residence in Happy Hill. I think we just spoil ourselves. You want to use Milo. Yeah, you have the natural cocoa, Milo. But you know, we were all educated falsely by our British friends. I remember growing up and when you pass by a shop, you see a man he just finished drink Milo, and you see with a big muscle, so you want to be like the man. They educated us, they really did a job on us, but we have to come to terms. We know enough now to stand on our own feet and do the things that we have to do for ourselves.
So before I came on the program here, I got two emails, right? One, it spoke about cabinet approved financial support for Grenada cocoa farmers. And the other one was the approval, let me see if I could pull it up there. It's increase in attractiveness and accessibility of loans to small hotels. The difference in these two, as the approach to deal with the support for the cocoa farm, it was only $1 million support. And the support for the hotelier, it was $5 million. It's a big disparity. Why is such a big disparity? And it looks like the same thing, same old.
Remember the support for the cocoa as a product. You buy it, right? So buying the problem they have is that the cash at the cocoa is because they are not selling the product, that they have a problem, a shortage of cash. So we had to give them some cash so they will continue to buy, because you don't want the farmers to leave the cocoa on the ground, right? So that's the problem. If they were able to sell the cocoa, they would not have needed any support at all. It's a business, right? So, but we recognize that we must do something now. So they would have to find places to store it for the time being, and hopefully the border will be open soon, so we'll be able to market the stuff as we've been doing before. And we didn't want them to drop the price to the point that it makes it uneconomical to be able to harvest the crop. Similarly with nutmeg, we did the same thing. So we give $1 million grant, and we're offering them $1 million in very soft loan and so on. In the case of the hotel, we're talking about hotel who has been devastated because of the economic situation. These are the small hotels, not the big properties with international brand behind them. These are small Grenadian brand that we said, look, we want to help you to recover. A lot of them are closed for a long time. They have staff. We want to bring back the staff. How do you bring back the staff and you have no money, and you have not been able to meet your banknote and so on? Some of them have not been able to market their property because of the cash problems that they have. So there are a number of factors, and don't forget, we are not giving them grant. Remember this.
Right.
It's all loan. In the case of the cocoa, we're giving grant. Nutmeg, we're giving grant. There's no grant to the hotel. We're giving a very soft loan, and we're giving them some time, a year's grace, so that they can, during this period and when they're trying to get back persons into the hotel, that they have some room. So I don't think the quantity is what you should look at. It's the whole formulation of the structure of the initiative that we're making. And remember, George, we are never going to say that the initiative that we make is perfect. That's one thing you never hear me behaving as if I know it all, the government is the best and we can't be wrong. So as we go along and people bring ideas, we are prepared to modify and take some changes as we have to. So we are still open towards it, and we keep telling our people that instead of complaining, bring ideas, come forward. This is a time and a period that none of us was prepared for, right? And I don't have the solution for all the problems that this country is facing. So we welcome initiative from our friends abroad, people like yourself and others who are willing to offer ideas. Please send it to us. Give us all the ideas you can, because we have to be thinking not ourselves, we have to be thinking of our children and grandchildren's future. They're going to remember us, each of us,
Yeah.
They're going to remember the Prime Minister. They remember every businessman. They remember every union man, the role he played during this time, and so on. And therefore, we all have to put our personal and preferences aside and do what we think is best for this beautiful country that God has given us.
Yeah. Well, folks might argue that with the downturn in the tourism sector and not a lot of activity, not a lot of travel, because of course people at this point, still hundreds of thousands of people in the US, Canada, and England who would travel. But with the downturn in that sector, if it makes a lot of practical sense by investing so much more back into the hotels.
Well, the fact is, we did agree that this is a fundamental area for economic activity. So we have to get it back on stream. And therefore, we have to take certain initiative. It's like having a car that's stalled. You have to give it a boost to get it going again. So we expect to see that returning. Now, it may take some time, but if you don't invest, then it will never return. So that's the main point behind it. But we have, as I said to people, and that's something we always must remember. Whenever there is a tragedy or problems in one's personal life or in business or sports or anything, it's good to mourn over the problems that has been created, but always think of the opportunities that has brought. The fact is, our small hotels, which is the area we invest in the resources of the country, historically, maybe 30, 20 years ago, these hotels used to do better than they're doing today, because we had a lot of Caribbean nationals moving back and forth because of the problems of the transportation system and the high cost of transport in the region. The people in the region, while we talk in Caribbean unity and freedom of movement and all the nice words, people don't travel to one another country. Because why? The cost of transport. Yes. Because it's sometimes cheaper to go to Miami from Grenada or Barbados than it is to come to Grenada or Barbados from each other's country. So we feel this is the right time for us to reduce the taxes. Each country must do it. Grenada can't do it by itself, otherwise it won't make any sense. All of us, and I've been telling my colleagues that over the years, reduce the taxes, make sure the tickets prices are about 50% as what it is right now, and encourage your people to travel to individual. And I think you'll see a lot more Caribbean nationals and will benefit the small hotels. So we are encouraging the small hotels, based on the discussion we had recently, to use some of the funds to market in the Caribbean region and so on. The other approach is, why shouldn't the hotels create room for locals to come in and spend a weekend with their family, at cheaper rates? So the hotels must be involved too. Similarly, when they come in, trying to attract Caribbean nationals, drop your rates, just like how the airlines drop their rates. Drop your rates, fill up the hotel. You'll, in the end, benefit far more, and you'll see a lot more people traveling. So it makes sense to invest more in the facilities. It makes sense to help to support your local people. Because one thing we know about the local hotels, the local people who own properties here, in most cases, it's almost an entire family that put all their little money together and invest in a hotel.
Right.
Now, when they fail, it sends a terrible message to Grenadians that why should you waste your time investing in a tourism product? So we will end up with all foreign-owned properties in the country. That's not a good thing for the mindset of the Grenadian boy and girl coming up in our society. So I think we have to do something for them. These are not, I wouldn't call them privileged people. These are people who work hard and given a lot of sacrifices by and large to the development and to the country and to the hotel sector. And they've created enormous jobs and opportunity, and we have to encourage them.
Absolutely. Again, how are we looking on time? How are we looking on time? Because, I have a few more questions.
Go ahead, man. Go on.
Appreciate that. All right, let's talk about the current situation as it relates to the George Floyd killing here in the U.S. It sparked worldwide protests, right?
Yes.
Police brutality is something on the front of and the tip of everyone's tongue right now.
Yeah,
but we also had our share of it, and we at Ridealong, we continue to hear a lot of things, even during the limited state of emergency, where police are still taking advantage of the situation. What do you think have to be done in Grenada and the Caribbean to, in this case, it's not about black and white, it's more about the power and the powerless. What is being done?
The truth is, I think there's a little more, I would say, of some of the initiative being taken in the United States now to make the police more part of the society. I think there's a lot more of that in the Caribbean region. I don't think the police's behavior here can be seen in the same light as what you see in those countries. There have been abuses. I mean, you have to agree with this. But I don't think that historically we can see the police as almost anti-people, as is being perceived, and at least anti a certain section of the population. So I think you have education has to be a key component in going forward. I think those of us in government have to ensure that we have leadership in the police forces that are more understanding that policing is not just about arresting people, about showing you a gunslinger. It's also about the human touch. Even some of the things that are happening now with the question of incidents, you meet somebody doing something, it's not always arresting, and sometimes the human side, the touch, talking to people and advising them to conduct themselves appropriately. So we need more police persons with that sort of empathy in the society as a whole. I think you will see more and more of that. I think we would have learned some lessons also from what is taking place. Although, as I said before, we have not had that extreme position in our individual countries. But clearly, one watching what has happened with George is quite, any human being that's not touched by watching a man put his knees on a man's neck. I mean, what is the end product to this? So clearly, if you can treat a human being worse than a dog, something has to be wrong. And unfortunately for us, I think technology is certainly one of the things that is forcing, because these things clearly would have been happening a long time before, but they were not being seen. Mm-hmm. And in fact, this one would have got away again had it not been for the ability of this young person to videotape every aspect of this. That has brought home the message of the high-handedness of elements of the police forces around the world, not just in North America. And that's why you see the demonstration are all over the world. I think hopefully we wouldn't see this as just a short period of demonstration, but action being taken. And people, those in power, those of us in responsible position would act accordingly and take the decision necessary to modernize our law enforcement operation to make sure that people are protected in the process of ensuring the society remains safe.
Absolutely. We'll move on to another pressing issue that has been in conversation in the news lately, and it has to do with the busmen issues, the increases, yes. 50 cent increase. What's your take on it?
As I said before, we are in uncharted territories. The busmen have never had to limit themselves from the the capacity of 18 persons on a minibus. But because of the protocol established for the virus and making sure that people don't get infected, we have insisted.
18 or 8?
It used to be 18 before.
Okay, 18. So the limit. Okay, all right.
So now you're telling people 12, on some case 10. So clearly, I mean, the man is trying to make a living. So clearly, there is some understand. We must understand that we have to look at this in the process of going forward. So a busman met with the Ministry of Transport and they and in fact initiated some proposal for looking at this thing. Remember, the government is still giving stimulus package support. 800 every bus that is not being occupied on any contract and making any money is getting $800 a month right now for the 3 months. So government is already helping the busmen and owners and so on. So we are in a position now. We said, look, they met Transport Ministry and the bus association. They brought forward. They said, look, we'd like, given the fact that we cannot now fill our buses to what we used to do before, let us look at an increase of 50 cents. And as far as the fare is concerned, let us look at the taxes for the gasoline, and they were looking at some support for sanitizer and so on. The Ministry of Transport clearly can't make a decision overnight. This is a national issue that affects everybody. And therefore, the government, the cabinet has to be involved. So the minister spoke to me as Prime Minister and Chairman of the Cabinet, and we agreed that we will examine the proposal. Now, I personally told him that even before it reached Cabinet, I didn't see the need for coming forward and asking for further reduction in price of gasoline, because gasoline price have dropped by at least a third already, and government revenue has already taken a 50% drop already. So government needs some revenue with all the things that it's doing. Government can't afford to continue doing the things that it's doing, including paying busmen for not traveling during the lockdown period. And at the same time, there's no revenue. So clearly we said no. But we were prepared to look at the other issues. But the next thing I heard is an announcement of a strike. Because a few days after so I tell the guys, come on, be responsible. Government is treating you well by cooperating with you. We understand the problem, but we have a responsibility. The country is not just busmen that run. We have to be responsible for. So let us look at this and let us talk to people and let us get a feel and let us analyze the situation. Next thing we hear about a strike. So I said, you can't be serious. You want to negotiate with me, and then you hold me down and have a knife in my throat and tell me let's talk. You can't do that. So the problem was the approach, not the proposal they brought. So government we said, look, you have to go back. You can't offer strike and asking us to look at issues, because it look like if you're blackmailing us, and you can't blackmail the government. So I think they understood that, and I think the general principle looked like, if generally speaking, most of them are going back to the so-called national strike. I think appears to be Peter away, so to speak. So the ministry and they met recently, and they're looking at the proposal, and very soon we will give a pronouncement. Because the truth is, while 50 cents a ride might be a reasonable thing in the St. George's area, for example, I don't think it's fair if you talk to a guy coming from some St. Patrick's, and 50 cents per head, I don't know that'll make a big difference to his earnings. So I'm not sure that 50 cents is enough for, even if we consider a 50 cents increase in the St. George's area. I don't know that the fella from St. Patrick's would want to run his bus with just 50 cents increase with 10 passengers as opposed to 18 as before.
Yeah.
So I think we have to analyze, look at the numbers, look at the figures, and we're doing this. So I expect we'll have a decision very soon.
Because the busmen are saying that, in 15 years they have not received any any raise. I mean, they've been everything else raised. Gas price go up, everything go up, and they have to provide more.
Junior, you hear the same language. The ministers of government will be knocking and say, "Well, I don't know when last you give an increase in salary." The unions always saying the same thing. Everybody always saying the same thing. So I understand their plight. I'm not saying that they're unreasonable. I would never say this, but I just say the approach is wrong. So let us come to look. We don't have a problem. There's no fight between busmen and government. So I couldn't. You only talk about strike when there is a breakdown in views and an approach to going forward. I just think the leadership showed a sense of immaturity and hastiness that I thought, as I told the busmen that I met with, I said, look, you need to look at your leadership and tell them to conduct themselves in a way that demonstrate that if they're going to lead a serious institution as a bus association that responsible for taking people back and forth to work and other daily living, they must act more responsibly. And I will not be afraid to tell them that personally, and I'm repeating that here today. But I have nothing against them. I feel they are my friends. Many of them are my friends.
Yeah. Talks of cabinet reshuffle, we've been hearing about that in the diaspora. A lot of people are concerned about what's the reshuffle going to look like? What's the plans for the reshuffle?
Yes, that's coming. It would have happened while we're talking now. It probably would have happened if COVID-19 has affected everything. So yes, that's coming, and we want to give members a opportunity to see different areas of government functioning, and by moving to different ministries, including permanent secretaries that are going to be reassigned. And that is something I've done every 5 years I've been in government. By midway of the period of government, we've given people an opportunity to examine and lead another area of service. So that is something it's certainly coming, and it is. Hopefully, we won't want to do anything to reduce the effectiveness of government. So it's not just, of course, reassigning people. It's a question also of hoping that we will be strengthening the governance structure and of course, the services that we deliver to the people as a whole. Yes, there will be. We have to now gauge exactly the timing now. I think with the border opening, and if nothing serious happens and we don't see major infection in the country, then I think maybe in another month or two, we might see those changes coming. And no one is exempted from, including me.
Oh, okay. Okay. I mean, I just wanted to make news. I just wanted to make some news and ride along.
Sure. I make the point. I know that.
So listen, I thank you so much for your time. There's a lot more that we like to ask, but I know that your time is pressing. And
we'll do it again.
Another time to do it again. We really appreciate that.
You have a friend they call Philo. She's certainly going to make sure that you get on to me and that we can have this chat again sooner. Yeah, we can have it more often.
Absolutely. We thank you again for your time, and thanks to Philo for everyone and to your whole staff for setting this all up.
Thank you, Junior, and take care of yourself and be safe. Because the virus taking on Como is one of my persons I watch most nights, and I know the virus came down. So be very careful. Take on media people too. All right. Well, take care of yourself.
I'll stay inside.
Take care, man. All right.
All right. All right. So let me address a couple things while you guys watch the interview today. So the Prime Minister interview was recorded about an hour or so ago. So the questions, I'm watching all the questions. I'm live now. I'm watching all the questions. But the question that you're posting right now are some of the same questions that I asked people to post pre the interview with the Prime Minister. And the folks who submitted the questions was some of the questions that we compiled and asked the Prime Minister, because the interview was recorded about an hour or so ago. So we understand that a lot of you guys have questions. Hey, we have 1 million questions to ask the Prime Minister. We were only given a very short space of time to do so. And if it was up to me, you know, I would take every single question that you guys post, and I'm watching it, and put it to the Prime Minister. But that couldn't happen within the limited time span that we have, and obviously it couldn't happen because of the format, and it was a recorded interview just about an hour or so ago. So I'm seeing all the outrage and I'm seeing all the questions, and I thank you guys for the questions. But I want you guys to also pay attention to the post, especially when we put those stuff on the page and we ask people to submit their questions, because a lot of people submitted the questions. People submitted a question, and some of those questions was compiled and asked to the Prime Minister. But I want to talk about another thing that was not mentioned there, but it's still a question that someone asked me today. It has to do with nationals, Grenadian nationals who traveled to the United States, and for some reason they got stuck. So they're here in the United States and they are stuck because they can't travel back. I want to show you guys this video that we compiled. I think it was a few weeks ago, and take a look at it, right? Because it speaks, we spoke to an attorney, and she explained for Grenadians who are stuck here in the United States and want to return and they don't want to spoil their visa. These are some of the things that you need to do. So check out this quick clip. I want you guys to take in, and if you know anyone who needs the assistance, share that with them as well. Check this out.
This is Ridealong Live, where everyone has a story to tell.
Now, who remember the last press conference that I was on? I don't know if you guys remember, but that was me there asking away a very important question. But as you see, couldn't be heard. Anyway, that's not the point of the whole discussion here today. The question that I was asking was a very important question, and it has to do with people who would have traveled, folks with a B1 or a B2 visa. They would have traveled from the Caribbean, come into the United States, and then they would give them a 6-month stay in the United States. And in that 6 months, within that 6 months time, it's beginning to elapse. You know, they have to head back, otherwise they're going to ruin their visa. But they can't go back because the airports are closed. What happened to them now? What could they do now? These people that have to go back and frightened that they don't want to overstay their visa. So the Prime Minister was asked that question in that same press conference, and that was the Prime Minister's response at the time.
And to all our brothers and sisters in the diaspora in New York and other parts of the world. Clearly, I think visas are given sometimes with a specific time, as you indicated. This is not normal time. I can only assume that the kind of rule that is applied when one overstays his rule would not be applied rigidly as was done normally, simply because COVID-19 forced borders to be closed. And therefore, until we decide to open borders, we can't just open it for a selected group of persons unless some serious procedural issues are taken care of in doing so. So I cannot tell you, Junior, that we will be able to handle this specifically at this particular time. I think we'll have to work with the U.S. authorities to ensure that these persons, for the time being, will not be penalized for having overstayed, not because they wanted to overstay, because circumstances forced them to be where they are. I think that should be the issue.
All right, so clearly there you see that there was no allocations made for people who are now in the United States that needs to go back. Clearly there was no reassurance, no allocation made for these people. But we got a chance to talk to our immigration attorney, and I want you guys to watch this and share this for everyone that you know that is here that needs to get back, or they would damage their visas. This is the question that was posed to our immigration attorney, Dion Winters Fonde. This is the response. Listen.
I'm recommending to all my B1, B2s, my H2s, all of the individuals that have the I-94 with an end date. If you have an I-94 with an end date, and now it's up to 45 days to that end date, I highly recommend that you file the extension of status. The form is the I-539. It's on uscis.gov. And the reason you're putting in is COVID-19. It is so explanatory that you don't have to, typically when you're filing an extension of stay, you have to have a reason.
Right.
So your reason is COVID-19. That explains it all. So long as you're 45 days away from your end of stay, whether you're on a B1, B2, or you're on an H2, and your country has no traveling, there's no way for you to exit or depart the United States, I highly recommend that you file the extension of status. I did one yesterday, and I think the filing fee is $375, and you have to pay a biometric fee of $85. Typically, you will not get a response because of the backlog before your end date. So if your end date, for example, is May 7th, if you file that extension of stay now, you will not get a response whether they approve or deny it. It is okay for you to stay in the United States anyway. The response may come after. The response may come after your departure date. You want to hold on to your receipt. You want to keep a copy of your I-539. If in 3 or 4 months you get a denial on your extension of stay and the world has somehow gone back to normal, you have 3 days to depart the United States, and you take your I-539 receipt with you and your application, and that will not harm your visa.
Oh, that's okay.
However, if you simply stay in the United States, file the I-539, you would have gone out of status. So it's important that you file the extension. A lot of people are saying, I don't want to spend $400. I think you need to file the extension so long as you are 45 days out from your end date. If you have 3 months, 4 months left on your I-94, I wouldn't file it yet, because I think we still have a little bit of wiggle room, because we don't know if your borders are going to be reopened by then.
Right.
So I would just save that little $400, save that for a bit. And as soon as we get closer to that 45-day mark, I would go ahead and file. And I can tell you, USCIS is being super, super friendly. Even if you're 10 days away and you have the money, still file it. If you're 5 days away and you have the money, still file it. So don't just say, I don't have the money, I am not filing it, because that will ruin your underlying visa.
Yeah. Let me reiterate on that for the people that's hearing. So where you have to start if you're currently in the United States. And all right, guys, so that was some information I wanted to share with everyone as it relates to if you're living here in the United States and you don't want to overstay your visa. Those are some of the steps that you take effective immediately, so you would keep the status on your visa. So here's what we're doing, guys. This is what we got promised from the Prime Minister's office. He's going to be back on the program in a week or so, where he could come live and take all your comments live. As I said, the interview that you just saw with the Prime Minister was a pre-recorded about a few hours ago, and that's why he couldn't respond directly to your question. But I promise you, as was promised by the Prime Minister and the folks in his office, that he will be back on the program in a few weeks or so, where he would be able to take your live calls and take your live comments. And I know you guys have tons of questions, and we also have a lot more questions that we'd like to ask of the Prime Minister. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for being a part of our program today. Don't forget, keep it locked right here to Ridealong Live, where we all have a story to tell. Don't forget our morning show that airs weekdays, Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday at 8:30 a.m. in the morning time. You got to check it out. Right? Rise with Dr. Z right here on Ridealong Live. Catch you guys again tomorrow right here on the Ride, guys. Peace out. Bye-bye.
Hey, did you know that the census is due this year on April 1st? And guess what? This time we can finally count as Caribbean. This year, all you have to do is 1, check the race box, and 2, write in your country of birth or ancestry. You can answer by the paper form, online, or by phone. Everybody counts in Census 2020. So count as Caribbean. Yes, we count.